Welcome to Thrive, Transformative Strategies for the New Year, the CLA virtual conference poised to redefine your approach to success. Today, we unite under the banner of innovation, ready to forge new paths in personal and professional growth. Each speaker today brings unique insights to propel us forward. Get ready to explore innovative strategies that will enhance your growth journey in 2024.
There are many definitions of greatness, but perhaps the one that will inspire you to dive deeper and fly higher in your life is this one. Greatness requires that you break the rules. You have to break the rules to understand that the highest level of self-love is the key to becoming great. I know what you might be thinking. If you follow the rules, you're doing the right thing. What I've learned on this journey of becoming greatness is that you have to, if you stay where you are, if you don't take a risk to break the rules, you will ultimately feel disappointment because you're going through life with the wrong wolf pack. A lone wolf dies, but the pack will always survive. The biggest mistake we can make is to believe that we can live our best life when we achieve greatness, or that that's the key to success. Achieving greatness only limits your potential because you're going through the motions, but eventually your hunger fades. When you decide to become greatness, the person looking back at you in the mirror believes in you. That person believes in the champion that you are. That person believes in your potential to dive deeper and fly higher than you ever have before. The question is, are you willing to do it? There is nothing you can do to repeat the time that has already passed, but you do have the power to let time adapt to you to become greatness. Don't stress about controlling time. It's about controlling your actions so that time can flow the way that it was intended on your watch. Becoming greatness doesn't mean that you will never fail or that you will never have moments of doubt or fear. But what it does mean is that you can look back at the fear wolf in your mind and say, I challenge you to try to defeat me. Imagine for a moment that I told you that you're going to go home today with an additional $2,000 or $3,000. That's a lot of monetary value. But what if I told you that the monetary value that you have can never be greater than the value of your life? When you start to walk, fulfilling your purpose, you have God's blessing to get the money that you lost back. Yes, that was me. At one point in my life, I once lost that much money, thinking I was living the time of my life being an addict. And when you hit rock bottom, you realize that it's not the worst outcome of your life. The worst outcome is when you don't believe in your worth. You don't believe in what you're worth. How high you value your self-worth will determine the level of greatness you were born to reach. But before you go on this journey, I invite you to take a deep breath, because the GPS that you've been following has lost connection to your future. The map that you need is internal. Your potential to dive deep and fly higher starts with your commitment. There are people who have too many commitments, and there are those who don't have enough. The question is, how committed are you to yourself? to your own growth? How committed are you to making your dreams a reality because you have a no quit mentality? You are the greatest commitment because win or fail, you can't retire from this journey. I finally understood that I was on the right path when I started to understand the power of courage that stems from tapping into your elite level of self-love. The courage to trust in your ability to make the jump, to take the dive, to ask yourself how high you can fly, builds from your answer to this particular question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love yourself? And you don't have to think about it right now. If your answer is not a 10, it's time to dive deeper into your heart and fly higher than the limits your mind thinks you have. American philosopher Ken Wilber, he once wrote that our mission as humans is to wake up, get up, and clean up so that we can show up as our true selves. That's a powerful quote, because while there were many times, and there will be many times, that we fail in life, it's the person that's committed to becoming greatness that will show up every 24 hours, ready to keep going. One step, one punch, and one round at a time. Too often we get caught up in the illusion of the power of our knockout punch to get what we want most before we even have the courage to throw that first punch. And we still hesitate to throw that first punch because we fear the judgment of how and when and why we do it. That was the story for most of my life until 4 years ago, when I learned that the most important lesson of all, the key to becoming greatness and sustaining greatness, starts with self-love. When you go through life following the band, it's hard to see and it's hard to hear the talent that you have because you haven't created your own stage to perform on. At some point, you have to give yourself the value other people never can. And the reason why I used to not believe in affirmations is because my mind was ignoring the meaning of those words in my heart. There is a Japanese term called kokoro. And what that translates into is merging heart and mind into your actions. Even though I learned the true power of that connection 4 years ago, it means that you're never too late to make this merger. It changed my life, and it can change yours. How did it change my life? I finally had the courage to face the fear that haunted me for most of my life: addiction. When you've been stuck in that pit for as long as I was, the biggest lie that your mind wants you to believe is that people will judge you for being there, and that there is no one else in the world who is struggling the way that you are. Imagine the mental and emotional weight of an expectation of judgment so high that while I was always smiling on the outside, I was lost and crying an ocean on the inside. I was flying, but I didn't know where I was going. I was swimming, but I wasn't swimming in the deep end of life because there was that fear that I couldn't do it if I had never done it before. I never gave myself the chance because I always expected to receive love just for being a good person. It never crossed my mind that I needed to value, appreciate, and acknowledge myself first. And you don't know what you don't know. And in my case, it was my mother who told me one night, there is something in you that has to change. I don't know what it is, but it's up to you to figure it out. And what it is, and change it. Because you're going through life, but you're not growing. As hard as it have been for her to give me those words were what my heart needed to hear after so many years. Because when the time is right, God will send angels to you in the form of coaches, mentors, family, friends, anyone who is ready to open a door to you. The door they open for you is the door that you've always been looking for. But up until that point, you never understood why that door. Sure, it looks amazing from the outside, but you have to discover the courage inside of you to walk through it. Perhaps one of the biggest obstacles we create for ourselves is the illusion of the impossible journey that becoming greatness is, until you realize that your heart is your greatest gift. And you have the courage to dive deep and fly higher to make it to the other side of that door because of it. God already sent me an angel in the form of my mother to bring out the courage that I had kept inside of me for most of my life, almost 40 years. The next angel he sent to me was in the form of Jose Escobar. When he invited me to be a part of something that I had never done in my life, a mind, body, and spirit challenge of 66 days. Everything seems impossible until your courage speaks up and says, when are we doing this? Because you know we can. You have to answer that call courageously. We always fear the scars and the falls that we can face along the way, instead of thinking about the greatness that we can become when we have the courage to do what the mind and the heart know you have to do. Remember that word, kokoro. Reading, journaling, prayer, physical activity, cold showers, waking up at 5 a.m. We've all heard of how these are all things that successful people do. But it's up to you to have the courage to stare down the fear wolf in your mind and heart. It's up to you to have the courage to stare down the fear wolf in your mind and starve it. Because the heart wants and needs your commitment. In the battle between your mind and heart, we let the mind win much more than it should, because the mind believes in safety, but your heart is hungry for greatness. And greatness is not about safety. It's relentless commitment to action. When you decide to become greatness, you make some new friends. And I'm sure you've heard of them. Discipline and consistency. You need them to make your dreams into realities. And Denzel Washington says it best. On the road to achieving your dreams, you must apply discipline, but more importantly, consistency. When you believe in your courage, on the road to achieving your dreams, you must apply discipline, but more importantly, consistency. Because without discipline, you'll never start. And without consistency, you'll never finish. When you believe in your courage the way you never have before, discipline and consistency start to flow. Not effortlessly, but purposefully. Do you remember times when you felt like life wasn't beautiful because you were falling in many different areas? Instead of coming up with solutions, you would point fingers and complain about the world because of your lack of success. You had dreams, but they always felt elusive, and you questioned why life was so hard. Those were the struggles that kept me from diving deeper and flying higher in my life on top of struggling to defeat an addiction with my own will and strength. Love is the greatest force on earth, but what gives you the ability to enjoy its capacity and fly is your willingness to trust. Trust and let go of the desire for control, because the path to greatness will depend on the choices you make, regardless of your victories or defeats. Remember, every 24 hours, you have to wake up, grow up, and clean up so that you can show up, not just for you, but for the world. The nature of a snake is to bite, but it's my nature to give from my heart, because when your cup of self-love is overflowing, you learn the greatest lesson about leadership. Leadership is about service. You have to be the leader of your own life, and life will reward you when you live your life on your terms, because the world needs your talent. It's one thing to provide a service, and it's another to be willing to serve. Only one of those things is generous. When I didn't understand the power of self-love, I lived with the mentality that the world didn't love or appreciate my talents. Only when I made the commitment to pursue greatness in a way that I never had before did I realize that my talents were not meant to be kept. It's my responsibility to share them, just as it is yours. Imagine how much everyone's cup could be overflowing with peace and joy if we decided to share our talent because of the inspiration we create in others who are watching in silence. Imagine how much the world could heal if we lose the fear of what the world will think when we share or when we hear the story that you've been afraid to tell. Making the commitment to take the deep dive and fly high with commitments to aligning my mind, body, and spirit is what led me to start living the greatest years of my life so far. It led me to understand that God is love, but we can't build a joyful relationship with Him if we're not open to trusting in Him. It's not enough to love. As great as the power of love can be, you have to be open to trust. It goes both ways. When you start to do the work, then God will trust you blindly. And everything that you once dreamed of becomes second nature to do. It led me to one of the greatest realizations of my life. Through writing and poetry, I was meant to inspire the world to understand the power of healing through self-love. When we truly embrace that power, we lose the fear to dive into the experiences we've never taken chances on. And we lose the fear to be our true, authentic selves in the world. Discovering self-love led me to run 2 half marathons. So if you do the math, together that is a full marathon. But one day you'll hear the story of what it was like to run a full marathon. This journey led me to become an author of 2 poetry books, to start a podcast, to understand that God already gifted me with wings when He blessed me with my talents. But I was afraid to fly because I didn't understand why I needed to, or why He wanted me to. The courage to understand that I needed to work on myself is what gave me the freedom to walk this path, with the purpose of finding the greatest blessings in my life that led me from one to the other. Discovering the value of self-love led me to defeat addiction. It's been 4 years since, and they have been the greatest of my life, because now my cup is full of gratitude. And when your cup is full of gratitude, it doesn't matter if the cup is half empty or half full. The cup is yours, and you have the ability to refill it as often as you'd like. When I finally let go of the thought of judgment from the world, from talking about my past. Everything I've talked about went from impossible to do in my mind to realities in my life. The stories that you're keeping as a secret from the world are the opportunities for healing that it needs. I once dreamed of becoming an actor, and that's a dream that didn't happen because it transformed into something greater. It's not that I wasn't meant to be on stages or film. I was meant to be on stages to inspire the world, to discover how self-love can not only help you to become greatness, it can help you to change the world with the light that you've been given. And you know what that is. It's your heart. Little did I know that being told my name, Raul, wasn't good enough, was the push that I needed to be the greatest in the studio. I had to come up with an Americanized DJ name. To this day, I'm grateful for that experience because it led me to become DJ Rumba. Because the world wants to label you by what you do, but your heart knows the more important detail, who you are. After so many years of being told that I was a very talented and gifted writer, I finally had the courage to write poetry because self-love inspired me to know that the writing of the books is because that's what I love to do. But the purpose of the books is to inspire the world to discover their level of self-love. After so many years of just going through the motions in life, not focused on greatness, I discovered that my name means Wolf Counsel. But to add a poetic twist of talent to that, I created the Wise Wolf, the award-winning motivational speaker, poet, author, podcast host, and even more beautiful than that, I found the female alpha wolf that I prayed to God for all my life. What I want you to remember is that you know who you are, and you're never too late to discover the greatness that starts with you taking a deep look inside yourself. When you learn to do that consistently, and let that be the service that drives you, you could write a book. You can become a motivational speaker. You can become an author. You can love yourself with a 10, no matter the past that you leave behind. You can defeat addiction. You can fail today, but you can get up, grow up, and clean up so you can show up tomorrow as your true self. And you can find the love of your life that you've always wanted. And I want you to remember that a lion and a tiger may be stronger, but you will never see a wolf performing in a circus. Life may be like a fight, but not until you bring the fight to life. One step into this ring, one punch to win this fight, one more round, and you can remain a champion. The enemy is not standing across from you. Look in the mirror. That is your toughest opponent in this fight and in life. It is the inner me that wants to disrupt your record of greatness. And your doubts and your fears are always looking to hit you with quick jabs, waiting for the moment to knock you out. But you're not going to be a champion because you never lose. It's because you refuse to quit. Do this, and not only will you become greatness, greatness will become part of you. Grow in self-love, and you will grow and thrive in 2024 and beyond.
Welcome to Thrive, Transformative Strategies for the New Year, the CLA virtual conference poised to redefine your approach to success. Today, we unite under the banner of innovation, ready to forge new paths in personal and professional growth. Each speaker today brings unique insights to propel us forward. Get ready to explore innovative strategies that will enhance your growth journey in 2024.